Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey.
Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Boy, oh boy, we want to send our prayers for a speedy recovery. But quite frankly, a lot of people are saying there is something very, very weird with this story. Let's jump in.
Breaking, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is in the hospital after a car crash in New Hampshire. Now, details are limited, although we have learned that this happened last night. NBC 10's Aaron Logan is live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Aaron, you've got some insight into what led up to this.
Well, Matt, the 81-year-old was actually helping a domestic violence woman or a domestic violence victim in a situation. She flagged him down, and Mayor Giuliani waited on scene and called for help. He stayed there until police arrived, and then that crash happened shortly after. We just got word from New Hampshire State Police just minutes ago about what exactly happened during that crash. They say it happened last night, just before 10 p.m. on Interstate 93 in Manchester. They were investigating that domestic violence incident that we mentioned on the southbound side, and that's when they noticed a collision in the northbound lane. State police say 3 people were hurt, including former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was a passenger in a Ford Bronco driven by a Michigan man. They say the investigation determined that a Honda HR-V driven by a 19-year-old woman from Concord, New Hampshire, hit the back of that Bronco that Giuliani was in. State police say both cars went into the median and were badly damaged. Now, Giuliani's head of security, Michael Ragusa, said he was diagnosed with a fractured spine, multiple cuts and bruises, and injuries to his left arm and lower leg. Ragusa says his business partner and medical provider were called to the hospital to check on him. And this afternoon, Ragusa posted on X, that Mayor Giuliani is in good spirits and recovering tremendously. He also said that this was not random. Mayor Giuliani's son also posting on X saying that he is thankful for all the people wishing them well. For now, we're live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Aaron Logan, NBC 10 Boston.
ABC's Melissa Dunn is here with the latest. So, Melissa, what can you tell us about this?
Yes, Perry. So some good news here. We have learned from Mayor Giuliani's spokesperson is that he is in good spirits and, quote, recovering tremendously. This after New York City's former mayor was in a car accident yesterday in the highways of New Hampshire. This is when this car accident happened, according to his team, that he was in a vehicle and then there was another car that sped up behind them, hitting his car, sending Rudy Giuliani to the hospital. And that is where he currently is right now, recovering from some pretty serious injuries. He sustained injuries to his leg, to his arm. He also fractured his vertebrae. So, Perry, of course, right now we are monitoring those conditions, but that update there that we're told that he is expected to be okay.
And then his team says that the crash happened after he was helping a domestic violence victim. What else are they saying?
Yes, Perry. So what we're learning from that situation, according to his teams, is that essentially he was on the highway in New Hampshire when he noticed that there was somebody on the side of the street needing help. That's when he pulled over and helped out a victim to call 911. It ended up being a domestic violence victim that needed help with police. He waited there with them until authorities arrived. And then once he wrapped that up, that's when he returned in his car, got onto the highway, and then promptly after is when we're told that's when that car accident took place.
Get into this because I seen Benny saying something at the towards the end of his show. Check this out on this.
In good spirits in the hospital. So hopefully it's just like an honest mistake. Maybe, he's pulling out and got hit. Here's his son who works in the Trump administration, executive director, White House task force for the World Cup. As a son, I can tell you it's an honor to have dad that I can call the toughest SOB I've ever seen. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Rudy Giuliani, last appearance on our show, made quite a bit of news. He's just an honest and decent dude. I got to tell you, man, he's just like a extremely solid guy. So here we go. I mean, I guess there's no evidence that it was a targeted attack. I really hope that it wasn't. It's obviously where my brain went instantly, but Here we go. Shout out and prayers.
And we've seen a lot of people saying this. Like a lot of people saying that this whole thing just seems a little bit weird. Yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comment sections down below, man. We send our prayers out for a speedy recovery. And again, we just showed that an update that he is doing well now. So,
to America's mayor.
Mr. Mayor, we have a very interesting post here from Zorhan Mandami. The last one I'll show you, but it's one where he says that New York City, he explicitly says New York City needs a communist mayor. He says, listen, what kind of a mayor does New York City need? We need a communist one. Here it is. My question to you is this. And since they're just out with this, since he's just being explicit about it and rubbing it in our faces, right? This is the post. These are his words. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Do you think, I mean, you've alluded to this, but do you think that this is an operation in order to bring some type of horrible tragedy visited upon the city of New York, to use it as like a beacon, that New York is a beacon of American empire and strength, and to to either plunder it into abject crime, misery, decay, and destruction, or to lay the groundwork for another horrible terrorist attack on the city?
Well, don't I have to say, I'm going to put myself in the position of when I was mayor, where I had to make choices for the protection of the city. First thing you have to do, and, you know, to the extent that I've ever lectured mayors on how to be mayor, I would say always have to take the worst possible scenario. Because if it isn't correct, then you haven't wasted any time, and you probably improved your efforts to guide things. The guy is inviting an invitation for that. In other words, I don't know how serious that is, but I do know if that is serious, that's treason. If it's serious. And it needs the overthrow of the American government. If you've read Marx, if he is a halfway
this statement is treason, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to nail down. This statement is treasonous.
This statement is treason if it's a serious statement from a well-educated man. And those two things have to be investigated. Was he throwing this out as political rhetoric, or is there something behind this? Here's what it does at a minimum. It invites the necessity for an investigation, not to interfere in the election or anything else, but to protect your city. Those are the things that are said by somebody who's going to attack your city. And those are the things that are said by people who just spout off and say stupid things.
America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani was severely injured in a freak accident in New Hampshire. And it is just one tragedy after another for him. And the latest health update, well, we want you to pray for Rudy because he cannot take any more bad news. He needs things to turn around, and we're going to support him at Explain America, and you're going to want to hear this. But before we get into this story, now, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani was seriously injured in a freak car accident in New Hampshire on late Saturday night. Giuliani, who is 81 years old, was hospitalized with a fractured vertebrae and multiple cuts and bruises, including injuries specifically to his left arm and lower leg after his rent-a-car was hit from behind. The former mayor was a passenger in a Ford Bronco being driven by another man, Theodore Goodman, who is from Michigan, at the time of the 10 p.m. crash, New Hampshire State Patrol said. Now, Giuliani, Goodman, and Kemp were all taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. However, obviously, Giuliani is dealing with a severe injury to his vertebrae, and we need to really keep an eye out on this because he's 81 years old. However, knowing Giuliani, he's a fighter. He's recovering from this injury and is said to be in good spirits. As his representative said, the mayor is in great spirits, he's a beast, he survived 9/11. Now, Giuliani, who is dubbed America's mayor for guiding the city through the Twin Towers horrors, and he's expected to remain in the Manchester area hospital for another 2 or 3 days, and then wear a brace for broken vertebrae. Giuliani recently put up his Upper East Side co-op for sale, and he's asking for $5 million after nearly having it seized by 2 Georgia election workers who sued him and won when he accused them of ballot tampering in the 2020 presidential election. Now, Giuliani, he was absolutely a great mayor of New York City. He brought down violent crime. He helped them get through 9/11. And he was at President Donald Trump's side during the 2020 election, trying to fight for transparency and accountability with what appeared to be illegal or at least unsound election practices in the 2020 election. He lost a lawsuit that was brought against him, and he lost quite a bit in that lawsuit. And we're talking about very personal things that were taken from him, in addition to just a lot of money. So one of the things that Rudy Giuliani needs to hear right now is that the American people got his back. They wish him well. They're praying for him. And at Explain America, we appreciate Rudy Giuliani and what he's done for this country. And we hope he returns to full health as soon as possible. So if you want to share your thoughts.
Yes, indeed. Prayers for a speedy recovery.